let's pick up where we left off last time. And let's start cleaning up drawing one of Shaggy from that scene of Shaggy and Scooby. As you can see, I've pulled out the mouth chart. This shows all the mouth positions for Shaggy, starting with A, which is closed, B, which is a little bit open, showing teeth, C, which is more open, and D all the way open. E is an in-between. F is for when he says words like ooh, and E is the in-between drawing. To get to F, you usually go from C to F with an in-between of E. And that drawing C to E to F. That's how you go from the F down to a C or the F down to a B, is that you in between. And so the E mouth is always on these mouth charts. G mouth is for when the guy does a V or an F. And H, that's his tongue right there going up to the roof of his mouth. So H is for when he says words with an L. So most of the mouth shapes that you need for a character speaking his lines are on these charts. And they do a chart like this for every character on every show. Another important thing are the attitude sketches and expressions. These were done by my buddy Dan Haskett. So he leans forward, hands in pockets. So his balance, his butt goes back, but his head is sticking out as he's looking quizzically at something. Here he's leaning back, puts fingers up to his mouth, and he's looking up to the sky. Here he's in fear, puts his hands around his eyes. He probably had his hands on his eyes, over his eyes, covering, and then he lifted them up to look. Here he's just scratching his head. Here he's looking up in the air. And usually they do this for any show that you work on. There's attitude sketches of characters in various expressions and poses. Sometimes they do just a sheet that has nothing but heads. Sometimes they do the sheet that has the heads and the bodies. In this case, we have a combination of heads and bodies and faces, so we can see different poses, different expressions. Here's his all-out fear. Hair sticking up out in all directions. This one is a real scared pose. This one is looking at something and being scared. These two are just walking along. So to do this cleanup that we're going to do, which is based on this layout drawing, we need to do drawing number one and have it pretty clean for the animator and assistant to use. So in this case, we're the animator. Usually what will happen is that an animator will do a scene completely and they'll send it to a key assistant animator who will do key drawings in that scene that are on model and perfect. This way the assistant animators and in-betweeners have perfect drawings to go by when they're doing their work. Last but not least, here's the turnaround model of Shaggy, and we see full body. We see him turn from profile to 3/4 front to front, then they flip and go to the back, and then a 3/4 back. Depending on the budget of the show, they may have the other side of this 3/4 front, which is his right side. If they have enough money, they may do a 3/4 front of his left side, so that you know exactly what the hair looks like on that side of his head. Not every show has that kind of budget. You have to work with what you got. So let's start cleaning up the Shaggy. And usually what I do is I take the head from the mouth charts and use that as a guide to start doing my cleanup drawing. I'm using really thin paper here. So for this, let's turn on the light and we can see right through it. There you see the drawing I did. You can barely see the light blue drawing I did over it. So let us look at the drawing of Shaggy with a C mouth, which is most likely what that is underneath there. But the thing is, we did drawing 1 is actually an A mouth, just closed like this. So we'll use that as our guide. And let's finish drawing him. What you can do on your model sheet, you can just go in and finish the construction so that you can figure out where everything is, how things work underneath things like hair and clothing. So in this case, I put that there, make a line down the front here, the center line, put a line across the bottom of the eyes, and then it goes back, bottom of the nose, and it goes back, and then the mouth. So you make guidelines like that, and then you can figure out how to do your drawing. So in our case, let's say that his head probably goes up about this high and round down here. And then his eyes, the line goes here and down. And then for the nose, here and down. His ear probably does this and goes up like that. Our center line comes down just like I had it. And then we can draw ovals for his eyes. So let's say do one here and one here. And just so we can see it better, we can go over it in the darker blue pencil, like that, and like that. And his eyes don't have a complete circle around them. And just so we can see, we can darken this in. And you can also turn off your light and you can see better what it is you're doing. So he has under eye lines like this. And big circle eyes like this. And his eyebrows up like that. His other, we probably wouldn't see because it'll probably be covered by his hair. But this is the basis for what we need to do. And then his nose comes down like this. And back around here. And his mouth right under his nose, like that, comes up here. His beard, we'll just make a guideline so we can actually extend his chin down a little bit. So his chin will come here, go up. His beard hair like that. Now this hair is just icing on the cake. And we can do like so. 1, 2, let's see how we do that. Maybe we should do it like this. Come up here. And then another one here. Like that. And then this one here. And up. It looks like it comes right down across his eyebrow like that. And then this bit of shaggy hair comes down here. And it's a clump, basically. So let's just treat it as a clump going around like this. It almost bisects it, but not quite. So we'll do this. Let's see. This here, go here. If we just reverse everything that we're looking at on that side. And then up like that. This one should come out like this, go way over, and it's on top of his head like this. And then he has a clump that comes down like this. Looks like it comes down practically to his mouth, right? And then this part comes out behind him. And notice how I treat it just as a big shape that comes down to his neck, like that. And his neck comes out of his ear, like so. So and then you can make corrections as you go along. So take your eraser, take some of this out. This line comes up like that, practically from his jaw. As it goes up, there's a piece that hangs out like that. And then another piece comes out like this and goes up. And this piece comes down like that. And we can take some of this complicated work out of here. Have a sip of tea. There we go. And this piece curves around his eyebrow. And that one there, another one here. And then that piece goes there. Now they seem to not have an eyebrow there. So what we can do is raise that eye up to here. And raise this his pupil up. And then the line under the eye is like that. And keep in mind that if he did have complete circle, oval, ellipse around his eye, it would be this shape. Now, let's look at the clothing. Take some of that out. And just to make sure that we've got the lines that we want, We can go over the lines that we want with the 6B. Bring this line down and this one down. And let's find the nose line was here. It comes underneath like that. So the next part we want to do is look at the model of him in his clothing. And let's see if we can get that to be just right. His neck comes down. He's got a long neck, doesn't he? And there's a bit of space between the top of the shirt back and his shirt comes. Now, some of this doesn't look quite right. I'm going to go with that. That is to say, this angle here, I'm flopping that to do this. So this line here is actually that line there. And it comes down to a point. And then around the other side is that line there. So we're going to come with a nice curve here. And this comes down like that. And this poofy sleeve comes like this. His arm underneath it would attach to his body like this. We want to draw through, right? So let's say that this arm comes down and then goes out like that. And this arm comes down. And that would be his elbow. Here it is coming down. And the old shirt goes down to his wrist, it looks like. So let's take it on over like that. And we might see that, and then the shirt connects back here. And then his legs, it looks like they've made his legs a little bit thinner than they used to be. So just to go over it, so we don't get confused. And he's got irregular sleeves as if they've been cut. So we can do a little move like that on that sleeve. And for this one we can do like this. We might have elbow here, so let's point it like that. legs, knuckles. Now a lot of this is not seen, but we want to put it in here so that the animator knows where the parts are, his limbs are. So there's a drawing of Shaggy. And that's more or less ready to go to an animator. Piece of hair sticking up like that. And his hair comes down like this, up, down around here, up. And for some of this, I can go over with an ebony pencil. And that's pretty much his face. So let's now concentrate on his clothing. And let's make some nice flowing lines here. And like I said, these lines here at the bottom, you don't have to be so precious with them. They're out of the field. And the only reason we're doing it is to help out the animator. Because later on in the scene, the animator is going to be raising Shaggy's hand to point, so it would help if he knew where that hand was. Come around here. So this would be drawing SH1 for Shaggy. And that would be our key drawing. Somebody would probably go over this yet again, just to make it very clean with no blue lines. And that would be our first drawing of the scene of Shaggy. So hang loose, we'll get on with Scooby next time, and we'll also go through setting up the rest of the scene for animation and making these guys move and talk and everything else like we used to do. There you go. So if you like what we're doing here, send me a comment on the old comments section. Let me know what you think of all this Scooby and Shaggy and animation lessons. Until then, keep drawing and have fun.